The following presentation is brought to you by Snap House, Houston-based photography services.
A lot of things that have really influenced me to be where I am today. Starting from being very active in my church community from a kid. My mom was, I guess, the president of a organization in the church, a family support group, which involved going to the hospitals, going to jails, helping family members, helping church members who have lost family members. And from there, I was just really involved when she brought me to church and brought me to go with her to the jail, to the hospitals, to people's house, to talk to them, to sit down with them, to counsel them. From there, I noticed that I wanted to be somewhere in that field of the human service field. I also believe that my family, I come from a family full of educators, and I believe that it really has a huge influence on, another huge influence on why I am where I am today. When I first started thinking about what do I want to do when I grow up, I always said I wanted to be a doctor until I got to college and I couldn't pass that chemistry class. Then I changed it. I was like, well, maybe a nurse, because I knew I wanted to do something in the medical field once I got to college. So I was like, yeah, well, maybe I'd be a nurse. You know, less chemistry, less anatomy classes I would have to take. But it's really when before I started even the nursing program or even think about being considered for the nursing program, I ran into a social worker who was at my university at Edwardsville, and we just had a great conversation about the impact of social workers and where social workers are going to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years from now. So that really interests me, and I got involved in an organization at my school that were headed by social workers, and it was working with kids and it was working in the schools with kids, and that really influenced me to study about the social work field. I looked into it. I was like, well, I don't really know if this is for me, but I was like, I want to go to, I like what they do in the schools as a school social worker. But I was like, well, I come from a family full of educators, and I always kind of had a hint to be a teacher, but my whole family did teaching. I was trying to stray away from that and do something different. Well, I got into the teaching program and I started student teaching, and I noticed a lot of kids in the classroom had different needs that as a teacher I know I could not fulfill at the moment. But I noticed as a social worker how I would be able to be a better influence in many of those students' life who actually needed more guidance. So I changed my career path to social work. So I went from wanting to be a doctor, then wanted to be a nurse, then wanted to be a social worker. Wanted to be a teacher to a social worker. And it was this one kid in the classroom who didn't really have much of anything, and he wore the same clothes every day. He never had lunch money for school. And I noticed him, and that caught my heart, and I put him to the side. I was like, hey, how can I help you? Like, what's going on? I wanted to know what was going on as to why he wasn't receiving clothes. So, I met with the teacher and I talked to her, and she said, she said she observed the same things, and she talked to the school social worker about it. And I decided to meet with the school social worker, and I sat down with her and was like, hey, I noticed that this kid doesn't have many clothes, and he doesn't really have lunch money for school. She says, yeah, well, it's about 2 or 3 kids that are struggling right now because of financial needs or divorces they were going through, their family was going through at the moment. So I really felt a pressure, a good pressure, of course, to help this kid out. So I got involved. I already told you I got involved with my school's organization, with the School of Social Workers, and I had them to donate some clothes, and I had them help me come up with a fundraiser to help pay for this kid's lunch for the rest of the school year. So that right there, we were able to do that. We were able to get the young man new clothes from JCPenney's, and we were also able to set aside $200 for the rest of his lunch money for the rest of the school year. And that just really motivated me to go down a social work path. So I decided to apply to be in a social work program at Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. I got in, and then I realized that it was a perfect fit for me to be in this program. I liked the classes, I liked the professors, I liked the fact that we had to have an internship, and it really gave me like a hands-on experience with the classwork and with talking to the professors. And I guess one of the best moments of having that is the fact that we had smaller class sizes in the social work program. It was a smaller teacher to student ratio. So I was able to converse with the professors more and with my classmates more about social justice and providing more justice in the community that we were in. So I was glad that I had that experience as a elementary education major to influence me to become a social worker now. So I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2014, and I decided to pursue my master's degree in social work, which is where I am now. And I have a lot of things that I really want to do. I still want to work with children, but I think right now my major focus is the mental health in America, and focusing on the mental health and how it impacts our society right now, and even in families, how mental health is many people don't know about mental health, and how we can further educate more families and more citizens of America about how mental health really affects us as a whole.